Hello, today we are going to be talking about Catcher in the Rye again. We're going to be talking about literary devices again, but this time we are going to have a different exercise that is going to have you exploring many more different kinds of literary devices. So first of all, I just want to go over a little bit what we went over in class. We have gone over tone. Our last lesson was on diction. Today we're going to be focusing on theme, plot, symbolism. Specifically, we're going to be focusing on tension and paradox, motifs, illusions, and irony. These are all things that we should be somewhat familiar with, some more than others, and we're going to be focusing on tension and paradox because that is going to be the next set of our lessons. I hope at this point you do have a good grasp on tone, diction, theme, plot, symbolism, metaphors, similes, everything like that. So for this next slide, we are going to be talking about a specific quote. And this quote is going to symbolize a very prominent theme throughout the book. I was 16 then, and I'm 17 now, and sometimes I act like I'm about 13. It's really ironical because I'm 6'2.5" and I have gray hair. I really do. The one side of my head, the right side, is full of millions of gray hairs. I've had ever since I was a kid. And yet I still act sometimes like I was only about 12. Everybody says that, especially my father. It's partly true, too, but it isn't all true. So here we have him talking about his gray hairs, and we have the tension of him being very tall and looking like he is older, but also his maturity level, he knows that he acts very young. And the mention of his father here pulls into that relationship with him and his father. They don't have a good relationship, and it's seen throughout the entire novel. So in the last lesson, I had you doing a write-up on the first page, and we talked about diction, and we talked about how that first page of the book really gives away most of the plot and the story, and the foreshadowing is very early on. And if you reread the book, or if you just reread that first page after reading the ending, you can see how Salinger really pulls everything together. With this quote, I really wanted to pull something out that was early on in the book and that showcase a very prominent theme, which is going to be the struggle between adulthood and childhood. This is throughout the book. This is a very general theme and tone of the book seen throughout. We can see the tension and the paradox also with this exact quote, and the tension is going to be created through the childhood, through himself, Holden, being a child. Although looking like he is older, looking like he should be acting older, and he seems to want to create those adult connections, but he can't. And this is a tension created by Salinger and also a paradox within and throughout the book. So just to reiterate some of what I said, you can see a theme of innocence, wisdom, and knowledge, tension with the relationship of youth and adults. You have an irony because of his appearance and his youthful maturity. You have tension that is shown through the strained relationship with Holden and his parents. I also want to say that this is reflected on the first page with a quote, "They're quite touchy about anything like that, especially my father. They're nice and all, but I'm not saying that, but they're also touchy as hell." So here, again, you have his father being brought up, you have his mother and his father both being brought into the light about how touchy they are, about how maybe things aren't hunky-dory at home, how Holden is not like them, and he does not seem to want to try to be like them at all. They are nice and all, but they're touchy as hell. So we have an instinct of what's going to come to happen. And the last quote here, you can actually see he has the same phrase, especially my father. So we would definitely want to look out for that if we were reading the book for the first time. And for the second time, I would also look out for that because it's going to give away a lot of clues. So for the exercise, it's going to be a dialectical journal. So what I'm going to have you do is something similar like I did, where I pulled out that quote, that big chunk quote, and I pulled it out because of the literary devices that it showcased. And for the handout I provided, you are going to write down your quote, the page number, and on the box right next to it, you're going to write why you thought of this quote as that literary device. And you can go back to any of the ones that I listed. You can watch it over again and pause it so you can see all of those devices that I listed, and you can use any of them. I want you to go throughout the book or up until the section that we've read, and I want you to really explore. And the purpose of this is for you to start brainstorming and see what thesis you can create and how many things that you can actually write about this book. Okay? Thank you so much, and I'll see you in class.